Hey everybody, welcome back to Let's Get Dirty Garage. Today, cold day outside, so get a little bit of work done if possible and run the heater a little bit. We'll see what happens, but today I'm going to try something really stupid. I'm going to try and make my own flush door handles. Love the concept and the look of them, but I'm not paying that. So, wish me luck. Let's go ahead and let's get dirty. Is this thing on? Yeah. Well, you know, I really like the whole look of the flush door handles. I know Can Dig It makes a set that's awesome, but man, $600 for door handles? Not going to happen in our budget. So I happen to remember a long time ago, long time ago, a buddy of mine had I think it was a '69 Pontiac Grand Prix. And it had kind of really similar flat flush door handles. At least they folded kind of the same way. But they have like a little bit of raised area on the thumb where, you know, the new ones are completely flat. So I went digging around and looking around on the interweb thing. And way back in the left-hand corner of the interweb, a little bit further back there, I actually found this. This was the drawing off of the patent application for that Grand Prix handle. GM, it was filed in 1968. I think it was issued in 1970, but don't worry, it's expired. It's but so I actually thought, yeah. I mean, it's kind of complex looking, but let's see if we can't simplify it for our use. So I went ahead and did the right thing and blew it up on the copy machine to 196% until it looked about right size, something like that. And then basically just traced around to make a template and played with it a little bit and see if we can make something that resembles that and works on that same concept in mechanical design. So we'll show you a little bit about the parts and so on I'm planning on using, and we'll tackle this venture together. All right, so here's what I'm planning on using to manufacture these, at least the design that I've played with. Got a chunk of 3/4 inch by 2 inch steel, foot long. That one at the steel store cost me $9.65 plus a $2 cut fee. And also got a couple of feet of 1/8 inch stock, about 1.5 inches wide, something like that. Actually, it's 3 inch stock that I sliced down the center, but using a couple feet of that. I paid $1.15 a foot for that stuff, so there's another $2.30. Got a couple of bolts and nuts, and I even upgraded for stainless, just cause. But those were $3.12. And then bought a little 1/4 inch pipe. You can use steel. I bought brass just because I thought it was gold and shiny. But that was the expensive part. It was $4.29. And then this is just a old throttle return spring. I did have that, but look that up. Buy that in a kit. It's like $3.98. Got a couple of washers, some screws, and actually these are vacuum port plugs that I'm planning on using. So all that hardware and so on, throw another 15 cents for that, and Actually threw on a quarter for making a photocopy and cutting out the templates and so on and so forth. So all told, throw some sales tax on that, you got $27.18 worth of stuff. So we're going to see if we can make these door handles cool for 27 bucks. So let's get started. Okay, to understand the concept that GM was working with, this is the door latch. All GM cars basically work the same way as this. As you close the door, the post comes in here, latches this portion around. So the door. This is the outside of the door, and you close the door onto the post. Latches around the post, and then the outside handle is just a plunger that pushes against this lever and unlatches the door. So, and then if you're on the inside, it's got a little lever here that as you pull on the door handle, it does the same motion, unlocks the door. So essentially, really what GM was doing, if you look at it from that perspective, this is the outside of the door, and all you have to do is to push this plunger in. So what the design was on the Grand Prix handle was very very similar. And essentially it's just a handle that rotates around a pivot point, and as that is in there, it pushes this lever back and engages that as it rotates out. So that's really what trying to copy, and so we'll see what we can do. And I think the first step to all of that is we'll kind of mock it up and see what we can come up with. So, all right, so I did what any good recovering engineer would do, and actually built a model of the door. It's out of some pieces of sheet metal that I had laying around. So I took some measurements. There's an overlap on the door here that comes out, and this is kind of that surface where that mounts. So mocked up the door, made the hole here kind of extra large, so you can kind of mock up what goes in there, and then made this just out of sheet metal, and so that you can kind of see the concept, this being the outside of the door. I've moved this around 100 different times trying to get things in perspective, but essentially the latch mechanism the plunger that you have to push is right here, and as you open this handle, that curve then pushes that latch back. So pretty simple mechanism. It's just, this curve is really what I was after, and trying to understand how, and the pivot points and relationship between all of those, and how that can work in there. So I'll kind of show you how I mock that up. And again, this was just all sheet metal, really pretty rough, and just use the templates. And this part of the handle really doesn't matter what shape it's in, because that's just what you're gonna grab. The key shape I took off of the drawing that I photocopied was just that ramp there. So basically I put that in an orientation in here where actually the mechanism will work. So let's go ahead and drop that mechanism in, and then I'll show you how it functions. All right, we'll get this bad boy in the approximate location. But before I started cutting on the sheet metal of the doors and making big holes, and I really wanted to have kind of a proof of concept that my simplified idea of how this can work can actually work. So that's really what drove me to build this thing. pretty flimsy, but it does at least give us an idea where I'll be. All right, I'll throw this thing on there if I can remember the last spot I had it. That's close enough for who it's for. Again, just prototyping, so we know where things line up. So once we got that in there, basically the concept is pivot points right here, and as this is flush with the door, push on the back half of this door so you can get your fingers in and then be able to pull the latch. So if the latch itself is latched, then you've got some free travel in there, and then able to open the door. So that was my proof of concept, and I'll show you kind of the back side here and show you how the mechanics of it is working. All right, so this is a relationship between the lever that we're trying to push back, and here's the curve in that handle, and as you start to open that handle up, it contacts that lever, pushes that straight back, unlatches the door. So that's really the only motion that we are interested in, and I think based on that it's quite repeatable and easily duplicatable. So let's get it into manufacturing at this point. All right, well, the first thing I want to do is clean up the edge of this 3/4 inch stock, because that's really what we're going to cut that lever out of, because this will be kind of the outside surface, and you know, from the metal supplier, still got scale and a little rust and things like that on it. So I'm just gonna clean it up real quick, and I'll clean up both sides because I'll show you why as we lay out those templates. Okay, got both of those sides pretty well cleaned up and flat, so that's really going to be the show surface of the handle as we make that, and I'll show you kind of what I mean by that. Grab our fancy template here, line that up with the edge, and do a good trace around here. And again, this part of the handle where your fingers grab, I mean, that's up to your creativity on how you want to shape that so it's comfy. but also should try and put that pivot point in there. Got a little hole in there. Hopefully it transfers. Alright, then for this one I can lay it out. I can probably get both of those out of that much material. Didn't need to buy a whole foot. Maybe it's even cheaper. We'll see how good we can get that cutout done, you know. But basically when I take this, cut this out, then I know I actually have to grind away past the black line, so I just want to make sure that that disappears, the marker outline disappears as I'm grinding that shape. That way it is that if you grind just to that, then you've added the width of the line to it. So really don't need to change dimensions or anything at this point, I wouldn't think. So all right, next is cutting these bad boys out. We'll see if what kind of saw I got that can tackle that. All right, well, it's time to try and get some separation going between these two. I'm gonna try and get the sparkly wheel of terror to get through this material. I mean, it's a lot of cutting, but I think we can probably get at least those two cut out, and that way kind of clean up everything else with the grinder. So we will give it a whirl. All right, well, about halfway through that, I was thinking, you know, bandsaw would probably be a pretty good investment. But anyways, now I'm gonna do some grinding and shaping on these, try and get that handle to flow and get everything in the right orientation. So we'll play with the grinder next. Okay, 77 hours later, here is our handles in pretty much finished form. Did quite a bit of grinding to get all the mill scale and so on off, but I'll clean that up with a DA. They're pretty much the same. As I said, the the shape back here is what's important in order to make sure that that mechanism is, you know, smooth operating and so on. So I think we're in pretty good shape, and a lot of metal removed off of that thing, but that should give comfortable grip in there, and pretty happy with those. So a little bit more cleanup to do, smooth some of that stuff out, and we will go from there. By the way, you know, no matter how hard I try and what I do, I keep pronouncing one word wrong. And the word is wrong. Okay, let's get some work done. Okay, so here's the plan for the sides and the housing, if you will. I took my 1/8 inch, actually I think it's 3/16, but cut that down essentially, and ground off all the mill scale and so on. Essentially this is going to be you know, the sides of this where it pivots. So and on the ends, I really don't want to have like a square corner. I want to have a little bit of a radius in there, and I think rather than trying to finish off a radius, I think what I'm going to try and do is bend these over, and so essentially they'll be, you know, parallel, and then bend each one of these over, and I think I can finish that weld joint on the flat portion a lot easier and a lot cleaner than I can with the, you know, trying to finish off the corner for appearance sake, because basically you're going to see the edges of those, and that's going to fit right in between them. And this is what we'll weld to the car. So that's the plan, and really to try and do all of that. I think I'm going to try and bend these all at the same time. I don't know if that's gonna work so well or not, but I will give it a whirl here. And essentially what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna take try and keep these all together, since I'm not coordinated enough to handle all of those all at once. So get both sides here. Oh, that was good. The trusty template tape. At least that way I can keep them all in line, I think. Like I said, making this up as we go along. So we'll give it a try. And then in order to kind of get a feel for, you know, it's basically, as I bend the end of this, it's got to cover half of the length of this, and then I'll make that seam kind of in the center here, and I can finish it on the flat. So I'm just going to put a bend point in here to start with. Garage Panther is trying to help today. And then if I look at what kind of gap that I want, a little bit of a gap on the end, and then this has got to be somewhere right around there for that gap. So the end of this will come right to here and right to there. All right. Well, we will give this an attempt. Get that in the vise. Get one good elbow pop out of it. Now, like I said, making this up as we go along, so we'll give this a try. You know what? I think since they're in the vise, I will have better luck at trying to get, at least that way all the bends will be the same if I'm bending them at the same time. That's some tough stuff. Time for the BFH. Alright, let's see what that kind of looks like on the radius. So, yeah. What that will give us is a little bit of a radius right there. So when this is in there, it actually looks finished off, and we can kind of keep that gap because I'm going to round the corners of that off just a little bit. So I'll continue. Not the easiest thing in the world to bend that 3/16, but I want to get them kind of all the same length so that when I slice these and put a weld joint in here, I don't have any steps or wiggles. So I'll continue on with that and show you where we're at when we're complete. All right, so update. Got them bent, and I think that is going to work much better as far as a little radius and a gap. So now I've just got to trim these ends And what I'll do there, I'm gonna mark this latch at the halfway point. My trusty measuring stick. So I'm doing math. So that's essentially where I want the two, or the weld joints, to meet. And then in order to space that properly, I'm going to use on either side of the pivot point will be a washer in order to maintain that gap. I think that's a reasonable gap, so I'll put that washer in there, keep the gap, and then mark each of these ends if I'm coordinated enough to do that. And I will mark all of those off so that we're meeting at the halfway point, and that'll be my weld joint on the ends. All right, do a couple of those, flop them around, do the other side. Okay, so those two halves should be able to come together and give us a housing that's got some at least reasonable radiuses in the corner, so it doesn't look like it's just, you know, completely homemade, which it probably will anyway. So, but that will, those will come together, and then the handle will be in betwixt with a reasonable gap there. So I think now it is time to mark out the pivot points and drill these bad boys out and get everything in the function area going. So we'll do that next. All right, so after careful measuring and with a hairy eyeball, I clamped all these together, trying to leave the right gap down on both ends, and I've marked out kind of my pivot point there, so that I'm going to drill all of these at the same time, so that that hole is nice and parallel as it goes through all that, so it should function properly. So time to take it to the drill press and see what we can do. Okay, I'm going to drill a smaller pilot hole first. A little bit of oil on that bad boy. that should get us started. Now, 5/16 hole for the 5/16 hardware. See if we can't get it nice and straight in there. Don't have a drill press vise. That would probably come in handy, but we'll wing it. Alright, well that should give us a nice parallel hole to work through, so just got to do one more. Okay, after I got pivot holes and so on drilled, just trying to check to the template, make sure we're in the right spots, we're close. So pretty good, and according to the template for this portion, I mean, it's got to have a little tab underneath there as a stop. So I'm going to got some cutting to do on these. So I'll make some marks here. And that way that'll get some relief in the back there. Also marked which way was out to the door skin, so I knew how everything was going together. Okay, we'll get those sliced off, and then we should be ready to kind of bolt stuff together and do some welding on that frame. So we'll get those cut out. Okay, well, you remember how I told you I marked those so I would be cutting in the right spot and can assemble them the right way? Well, what you didn't see, because quite honestly the language was not appropriate for family-oriented channel, is that I still managed to cut one of these off the wrong side. So I had to weld it, the piece that I just cut off, back on, and then turn it around, mark it again, cut it, and put it together. So anyways, now I'm going to, what we've got here is, just so you can kind of see, basically that handle is fitting and got some decent radiuses around the end, so I can round off the corners of the handle itself too. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bolt this together and clamp it together so I get the right gaps and spacing in there, and weld these ends up. So I'll show you what I'm planning on there. Essentially, I'm going to put in one washer on each side for the final gap. I'm going to throw in a thickness of a sheet metal to account for like primer and paint and all that stuff that's got to go on there as well. So I'm gonna get those on both sides. Hopefully this, not sure why that's so tight. Should have made the holes in the sheet metal bigger. Okay, so sheet metal and washer. Yeah, I want to look real quick. Yeah, it's going to need that in there. Okay, I was just concerned that sheet metal was giving me too much of a gap, but I mean, primer and paint and everything on both of those components is going to actually add up to pretty decent thickness. And once I clamp this thing together and tighten it all down, I think we'll be in pretty decent shape. So get all that alignment in there. Grab the wrenches. There's nothing ever where I put it the last time. And probably because I don't put stuff back where it belongs to begin with. So, my own fault. Now I got the nylock nuts for these, so that will stay clamped together once it's put in and installed and all that fun stuff. Okay. Guess I bet I left a little bit of a gap on those. I'm going to clamp this end in. Okay, well, that being all flush and tight, I think we are ready to do some welding, see if we can close up these ends. So we'll set the welder on boil and go from there. Okay, since I got this tacked, I think I will take the handle out of there so I don't do any welding damage to it. All right, let's see if we can finish up this housing. All right, that'll give us a start at cleaning and grinding on that. I will grind this up and then we'll do a test fit. All right, so here's our test fit after I got that ends all welded and ground out. So essentially, you know, being in the door, it's going to function, I guess, like that. One thing that the GM design had was kind of a stop back here with kind of a rubber grommet down in the base of it there, but I really don't have because their handle was hollow, so they had a stop up in the center. So I was going to use this as a stop back here, but one thing I'm not happy with is the sound that it makes. It's just really metallic. So a little bit of change of design. I think I'm going to take this end and actually make a little tab on it so I can put some form of a cushion or a stopper in there. So I'm going to do that next, and like I said, making this up as we go along. So we'll take that one on. All right, so design number 2, basically change that loop out for a flat tab there. And the reason behind that is that's where I'll show you. I'm gonna run a screw down through that hole. And this is where the little vacuum cap comes in. Cut that down just a little bit. Now I can press that vacuum cap in over that screw, and that way I'll do a little adjusting on that, but as it closes it's going to have a nice thunk against the rubber instead of that metal to metal sound. Pick a screw that has a screw head a little bit bigger than the rubber that you're trying to put on it, but okay, well I think after all that gets in there, and I'll do some adjusting, grind that screw off from that side, make it flat, but that will give us, with some spring tension, that'll give us just the right closing sound, I think. All right, so I think that looks good. And next step in all of this, it's got to have some sort of a stop as it comes, as you bring it out of the car, so that, you know, if you rotate it like this, you're going to rotate it past the little lever in there. So I'm actually going to combine the back piece into a stop. Jim had a different type of stop, but that will stop it at a certain point of rotation, so you can't over travel it and still be able to close. So I'm going to throw that in the vise and weld her up. Alright, so there is a finish on the back. So we've got it encapsulated, still hot, but do a little bit of sanding in there, but that gives you an idea. So it'll be closed off when you open it, and this will have a positive stop in there. Should be about right, and if we need to add to it or subtract from it, we can do a little bit of grinding or adding and so on. So that gives us basically a completed housing at this point. So now we just got to work on the return mechanism. All right, so the return mechanism is where the brass pipe comes in, or you can use steel pipe, but I'm gonna cut off just a little chunk of that, and that'll be kind of my spacer that the spring will wrap around. So about that much. Everything's loose. All right. So that is going to go on there so that the spring will have a spot to wrap around. So speaking of spring, that will be next. Okay, so I've taken like 3 coils of that throttle return spring and kind of straightened out a couple of ends on it and give it a cut, but the intent here is to have some sort of a tab here that can go into this end, and then I'm going to drill a hole in the handle itself, bend this spring down at 90 degrees and put it through that hole. So we get a spot for that. About there should be good. And then we are going to need some sort of a tab or something in order to hook the other end of that spring over. So I'm going to grab a little piece of scrap around here, weld up a tab, and I think if I put that in there about here, close enough. All right, so I'm gonna do that and then be right back with you. All right, so here's the little tab that I put on there just to hold that under the spring. I also did a little slice in it, so the spring's got something to set down into. Went ahead and drilled the hole for the spring, and also I have welded on those washers on both sides of the spacers, so since I'm not coordinated enough to actually hold everything in place all the time. So my thought process is here that will go in there, brass on, and then this spring so from this end bend it about 90 degrees there. I gotta get some new cutters. It's about 3 spots that actually are sharp. Just gotta find one, so that should hold that one up. Now for that side, bend it about there. So what that should do is drop down through that hole, wrap around there, bring the spring up there, and that way is it, if I'm coordinated enough to do that. So, but as you pull that out, it should pop right back in there. So next, just throw washer on, nut on, and put the final adjustment on the stop, and should be just about ready to go. Okay, put everything together. I'm going to have to trim this washer down a little bit, just make a little flat spot on that side, but essentially everything is in there. I've got the rubber in the stop there, so when that's in the car, that mechanism I think will work really well. So we are at that point where now it's time to actually put it on the car. So easy part's done. Yeah, sure. Okay, off we go. Okay, so laying out where I've got to do some surgery on the car. I've already gone ahead and patched the lock hole, and then this has like an indentation where the other handle sits, so I just filled in what I needed to there. I know from the model that I made, my center line needed to be 4 3/4 inches from this feature line, and the end of the latch needed to be on that center line about 2 3/4. So basically laid that out, traced around it, kind of get it in there, and I think it looks straight. Does that look straight to you guys? I think so. So I think next, ooh, fumble. I think next, time to cut some sheet metal and be brave and see what happens. So, anyways, listen, and if you haven't yet, please hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. We really appreciate that. So, I'm gonna get busy and cut this out, and we will go from there. As they say, nothing ventured, nothing gained. Okay, one handle-sized hole, I hope. We will see if that actually fits up in there, kinda, sorta. All right, we're close. A little bit of die grinding on some spots. Wee bit more. Okay, I think that's kind of in the right spot. Well, we'll give it a whirl. All right, I think we're in the right spot, so I'll get a couple of tacks in here. All right, let's go a little bit for the moment of truth here. Hey. It works. Okay, I'll do the rest of this welding and grinding and then show you finished product. I'm kind of excited. Okay, well, there we go. All welded and ground down in there pretty straight. Got to play with the gaps just a little bit, but works like it's supposed to. So I think we are complete. Man, I think I could play with that thing all day. Well, there you go. Flush mounted door handles for $27.18. A few hours of blood, sweat, and swearing, but I think overall it's definitely worth it. Actually, putting it in the car was the easy part, so unfortunately got the other side to do. So, but anyways, I appreciate you getting dirty with me today. Hey, listen, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Try it yourself. You never know what you might be able to come up with, and I'm pretty excited about how it turned out, and should be just what the doctor ordered. So much better than paying the type of money that it's out there for them, and not gonna lie, pretty pumped up. So listen, thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, as I said, and we will see you next time. Take care.